Welcome to youTurn Radio. Here at youTurn Radio, we believe in big-hearted communities and small government. Join your hosts, NADIA RENNER, Tom Murphy, and Eric Steinman, as we work to put local governments on a diet and champion the charities that support your community. So come on, join us and let's turn it around.
Welcome to youTurn Radio. Hope you guys are having a beautiful Thursday with a lot of rain. Give yourself a lot of time to get where you're going. And snow too. That's right. You were telling me that there was snow up in the mountains here in the IE.
No. It wasn't in the mountains. It was
where?
Half mile down the road at Walmart. Was waiting for my oil to be changed. Yep.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. I thought you were like up in the mountains.
I mean, snow, sleet, I can't really tell the difference, but it was like white stuff that was coming down out of the sky.
Really?
Yeah.
That sounds like snow.
Yeah.
Well, be careful if you're driving out there. Thank you for joining us one more time. We have a great show today. We keep talking about the IE, the Inland Empire, the San Bernardino County, and how it needs to get saved. And we actually talked about that 2 shows ago, and then we kind of went into, solutions, things that we've come up with. And we have another great show because we're going to go a little bit more into details as far as what we do and kind of like a plan that we're going to share with our audience today. Correct, Tom?
That's correct. And we talked about it. We talked about one aspect of the plan over the last show. And we'll kind of review that maybe later on in this show.
Okay.
But we wanted to talk about some other things that we're doing to try to hit that mission of small government. We're big-hearted communities, small government. I think we have a little big-hearted community as part of this show, but we also have some small government.
Absolutely. And part of the big-hearted community is if you call in 909-792-5222, that's 909-792-5222. You call in and we get to spin for charity. That means we spin and whatever it lands on, it could be hundreds or thousands of dollars. We're going to go ahead and donate that money to your favorite charity working out here in the Inland Empire. We've given out to so many different charities, from Music Changing Lives, YAPS, Run for Ruth. I mean, we're really trying to cover all of them here in the IE as much as possible, at least.
Right, and there's a reason why we do that. It's not. It's again our mission: big-hearted community, small government. We believe that if government views their role very limited in terms of what they do, that it will release, if you will, the big-hearted people within the Inland Empire and those needs that government tends to want to take care of. I believe that there's a whole lot of energy out there that kind of stands back and says let the government take care of that. Where if the government isn't filling that role, then there's people I think leaning forward and willing to help. Civic organizations, churches. Across the Inland Empire.
Yeah, because I have 2 years out here in the Inland Empire and learning about all these different charities out here. There's a little bit of everything, I gotta say. I can't remember the name of it. It's not coming to me. Pen and napkin and pen.
That's it. Pen and napkin. Yeah. Very good.
They do. I thought that was really neat. They help people. They help with interior decoration for people that are moving into a new home, whether they came from being homeless or things like that. So, there's a lot of good people doing a lot of different things for the good, I should say. And
the key there is that they're doing what interest or what they're called or what they feel like they want to serve towards. So they're, if you will, their labor, that this is what they own, is invested in what they're interested in.
Absolutely.
And that, if you ask me, is the key thing. Whereas, as government takes, funds via taxation, your money, our money, and redistributes it, we may or may not be interested in what that charitable work that the government is doing. So that's kind of what we're about.
Absolutely. And we also have our other host on the phone joining us via telephone. Eric, welcome.
Hey, Nadia. Hey, Tom.
Hey, good to have you back in the SoCal. Hey, it looks like we also have another caller on the line. Diana, is it?
Yes, let's go to the phone, and it's Diana who's calling in. Diana, can you hear us?
I sure can. Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing well, thank you.
Diana, and you're calling us from a charity, correct?
I am. The charity, the nonprofit Mansion Memory. It's a local Redlands nonprofit here in town.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your guys' charity. You said Mansion Memories. What do you guys do there?
Mansion Memories, what we do are magical day events for kids in crisis and their families, and we hold these fairy tale storybook events up at the Bird's Mansion here in Redlands. The families and the kids that attend, the kids are defined as kids in crisis. And we, that could be they either lost a family member or their sickness or hardship, whatever crisis is affecting the child and their family. We work with over 30 agencies that will nominate them, and they're agencies like Children's Fund, Family Services, Ronald McDonald House, Cancer Society. They'll pick out a family and a child to come and just have a break from whatever crisis they're experiencing and make forever memories as a family at our Magical Day event.
What are the ages of the children that you guys work with?
We don't put an age limit on it since basically it's whatever child in that family is affected. It usually affects the whole family in a whole. And so it can be any age child. We've had them from all ages. And at first we weren't sure how the high school and, junior high and high school kids would respond to such an event. But that's probably one of my favorite things is that they all become children and just be able to have a good time as a family together. So we really do not put an age limit on it.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Very nice. Diana, if you will, tell us a story. I mean, you can change names certainly, but give us an example of maybe something you've done recently.
Well, we like I said, we get nominations from the public, from off of our social media, and then we also get nominations from like Ronald McDonald House, from the Cancer Society. We also got a nomination after the Vegas shooting, and a local family lost their mom.
Oh,
and
wow.
So they were able to come. The Big Bear shooting that was a couple of years ago, the family from that lost their dad, that family was able to come. We had a family here just recently where the mom was diagnosed with cancer, and the family was able to come, and it was the last time that after the event I was told, not long after that, the mother passed. And the kids were able to just not even think about it, and that mom was able to make a forever memory with her kids. And it's just priceless. Like I said, our events are storybook themed. And so the last year our theme was Peter Pan. The year before it was Alice in Wonderland. And this year we're very excited. It's Pirates and Princesses.
Oh, nice.
And it's Once Upon an Adventure. And all of our ensemble, our Mansion Memories ensemble, they are just class actors that come and be a part of these events. And honestly, everybody just gets whisked away. And it's an awesome experience.
That's awesome. Should we spin for Mansion Memories?
Yeah,
That's what it's
absolutely. Here we go. Let me.
Woo! So big.
Okay, looks like $1,200 for
Nice.
Mansion Memories.
Are you kidding me? That's awesome. Oh, that is so fantastic. Wow.
Congratulations, Diana. Thank you so much for sharing what you guys do and what you guys are doing. This is really cool. People can also check out your website at mansionmemories.org. That's mansionmemories.org if they want to donate. And also, you said if they want to nominate somebody, they can go to your website?
Yes. Right now, nominations are closed because we already have the current Magical Day coming up is full. But we will be opening up the nominations again for our May 4th Magical Day sometime in March, April. And this $1,200 is huge for us because every one of our guests that attend our events attend at no cost. And so
awesome.
we're one of those nonprofits that have to, rally and come up with creative fundraisers. And this is just such a blessing to be able to say this happened out of the blue today. I'm so thankful. And if anybody has an interest in volunteering or donating to Mansion Memories, they can contact me through our website. And God bless you. We appreciate it. This is such a blessing.
Oh, thank you so much, Diana. That's really awesome that people can also go and volunteer, and that's great.
Right, and Diana, we'll track you down tomorrow to get some of that information that we'll need to process that donation. Happy to do it.
Okay. Oh, I'm just so thrilled. Thank you so very, very much.
Thank you, Diana. Have a great day.
Okay, you too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So just like Diana, you can also call in and we'll spin for charity, 909-792-5222, or you can be part of the show and give us any suggestions or any information that you might want to add to our show as we proceed.
Right, and you don't have to be a part of a charity to call. You can just call in and comment on the show.
Right.
And we'll spin the wheel for you, and whichever charity is on your heart, then we'll go ahead and make that donation.
Awesome. So let's just jump into how, I guess we can kind of say a little bit about how we started youTurn, because it really comes from the Red Brennan Group, and then we can start from there to develop what we got going on, right?
Yeah, So the last show we talked a little bit about an effort that we want to do here it'll be the 5th district of San Bernardino County, looking at maybe a different way to approach the elections for county supervisor. We'll talk about that maybe a little more later in the show, but we did want to communicate to our listeners that that's not just it.
Right.
So this show, youTurn Radio, is underwritten by the Red Brennan Group, which is a nonprofit organization that is also dedicated to small government and big-hearted communities. So, if you will, underlying this show is the Red Brennan Group. And they do some other things other than support this show.
So let me ask Eric, how long has Red Brennan Group? How long has it been around, and how did it get started?
Red Brennan was a gentleman that I knew originally that served on the San Bernardino grand jury and had some opinions on how the county operated efficiently or did not do so, and he made an effort in 2012 to lead a ballot initiative to reduce the pay for the county supervisors at a time that they took all their responsibility, and in violation of the county charter, gave all their responsibilities to a non-elected county CEO and paid this CEO a whole lot of money, and then they took what were by charter weekly meetings and reduced those to every 2 weeks, and basically, which is a part-time position. So he led an effort to reduce their pay to part-time then, which gained 64% of the vote and still has not taken effect. In the time since then, Brad, who was an older guy, he was a submarine. He served in submarines in World War II, I believe, and when he was only 17 years old, and he passed away. And so when we renewed our efforts, there was some dialogue after our efforts on that initiative in 2012. And nothing really came of them. Some of the same practices were, picked up as soon as, the pressure seemed to be off, and so we decided to put an effort forward to make some substantial change in the county, to create an organization that would be around for the long haul to do that, and we named it after Red, and that's the origin of the Red Brennan Group, and Tom's been instrumental in that from the beginning, and we're just getting started on a long road, and our intent is to just keep making steps forward and gain a reputation as, which you have to do over time, as not having any special interest, but only trying to create a more efficient government.
So Eric hit on one of the kind of the first things we did once we incorporated, and that was submit some initiatives, and so that's one of the things we do, and as hopefully people understand, there's a few tools in every citizen's toolbox as it relates to government. There's the power of the vote, the initiative, the recall, and the referendum. An initiative is a way for citizens to get together and put something on the ballot, and if it's voted for, it changes, if you will, law or ordinance within either the city, the county, or at the state level.
Right.
So,
and Tom, I interjected. So the initiative, the right to initiative, it's something that people never gave to anybody else. To start with, the people collectively had the power to do whatever they wanted, and then they formed a government, and they did a constitutional government where they gave that government specific, things that they could and could not do. But they never gave them the right to take precedence over the right of the people by a majority of their votes to enact anything related to the law. So now that's a pretext of what Tom will probably fill you in on what happened when we were filing these initiatives.
Yeah.
There's not a recognition that this is a greater right that was reserved at all times to the people, and it's gotten to the point where the county here and many in other levels of government, especially in California, think that they can subvert that or change that or make it meaningless by an action of a attorney that's on contract from from Pasadena, for instance. They'll ask them to what do they think about it, and that attorney doesn't think that it's something that is particularly comporting with all the other laws enacted by the legislator, then they'll sue you, and which is what has been happening.
Right. So what Eric is kind of describing is, if you actually start at the top, right?
Right.
The Constitution of the United States. There's a list of amendments to that Constitution, and it originally started out with 10, right?
Right.
It said, hey, there's this Constitution, but there's these specific rights that we the people don't give up to the government.
Right.
It's the exact same idea with the California Constitution. There's some specific rights that we do not give up to the government, and one of those was implemented in 1911. I think the governor's name was Hiram Johnson. I'm not certain about that, but at the time, basically, the railroads were buying the government.
Okay.
And so what they put in place in the Constitution are these abilities: the right of initiative, referendum, and recall. And it was a way to give, if you will, the citizenry the opportunity when things got really ridiculous to go ahead and put an initiative in, and would change, if you will, state law, state constitution. And the California state constitution says that that's our inherent right, in the same way that you have a right to free speech,
right?
Because by virtue of the fact that you're American, we as Californians have the right to put in an initiative by virtue of the fact that we're Californians. Okay, so what happened? We scroll out an initiative, and
when you say we, the Red Brennan Group.
Red Brennan Group, we submit it, and there's this whole process that you have to go through from, once you turn it in to once it actually goes on the ballot.
Right.
And then, obviously there's the voting process and then enacting the law. So there's a long process you go through. you can't even start on that process if you don't have a ballot title and summary. And who controls the ballot title and summary if you're doing it at the county level?
Yeah, you have to go out and get signatures, and you have to have a ballot title, and the whole text of what they're going to vote on. You have to have that to put before people when you get their signature. You don't just say sign here, and I can't tell you. They have to be able to read what they're signing and supporting. So that's the starting point. And so the law says that there's really no discretion involved there. You just have to give it to them, and then the people, they're the one that exercises discretion. If you can't go out and get 27,000 signatures at that time, which now has become 58,000 signatures, you don't go any further than going out and trying to get signatures. So the people are a gatekeeper, if you will, on any crazy initiative. And the role of the government is to give you to take the ballot summary and title that you suggest, look at it and say, does it fairly represent what you're doing? Or they can reword it in their own ways. And then that's what you go out to get signatures on.
Now, can anybody do that process?
As long as they're a
well, that's theoretically anyone can, but we're about to tell you pitfalls of trying to do that process.
Your basic requirements: you got to be 18, so you can be a registered voter and live within the county of San Bernardino. Those are basically it. So, so Eric used a term in there, gatekeeper, and he rightly said that the people are the gatekeeper, or certainly via the Constitution.
Right.
However, in San Bernardino County, the county council views that differently. Essentially, they believe they have a gatekeeping role. Rather than just, okay, here's my initiative, okay, here's your ballot and title and summary within 15 days, like California code requires, they feel like they have the ability to read it and decide if it's constitutional or not. And if they believe it's not constitutional, then what they do is they go to the judge and say, hey, judge, we don't think this is constitutional, so we don't think we should have to give a ballot title and summary.
So that gets a little complicated because, I mean, you're not letting that person really have a fair shot.
Well, actually, it's actually uncomplicated in my mind, but I've thought about these things for a while because you've substituted the authority of the government for the right of the people by doing that. So these initiatives we've seen, some of the topics, see if these sound bad to you.
Okay.
Right. So we have the San Bernardino County Leadership Accountability Initiative. Does that sound bad?
Not at all.
Well, that one.
Leaders, I mean.
That one got thrown in the penalty box. How about the Fair Pay and Benefit Initiative? How about that one?
No, that
doesn't sound bad either. That one. That one ended up as part of a suit also.
So these are, to clear up, these are the initiatives that you guys submitted.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
So we submitted.
Yeah, it's not just to show you. This is not nefarious stuff. This is stuff that we felt that the citizens should have the ability to vote on and give their opinion on whether this would improve the government efficiency in San Bernardino County. And there's two ways that can happen. One is the supervisors they can put anything on the ballot if they get a majority of the supervisors to sign for it and let the people vote on it. But the supervisors have never done that except for this proposition that I discussed earlier, where the supervisor's pay was going to be reduced to part-time when they reduced their work to part-time. Then they quickly banded together and put their own initiative on the ballot, put it on the ballot right above the initiative that we went out and got 30,000, 40,000 signatures on, and they gave it a misleading title and called it transparency, so that everybody thought they were voting for transparency and a pay cut, and both of them passed by a lot, but because theirs was right above ours, there's got a little more votes, like 1% more votes than the pay cut, and that canceled it out. They didn't put anything on the ballot and said vote for one or the other because one is going to cancel out the other. If ours got more votes, it would cancel theirs. Theirs got more votes, it canceled ours. But they didn't tell anybody that. They made it deliberately deceiving. So you have a situation where the supervisors can put something on the ballot, or the people can put something on the ballot. But the supervisors lately have only been interested in keeping people from voting on matters, as you saw in this FP5 action, which we're heavily involved in.
Right, so let's do this. Why don't we share some of the initiatives that you guys submitted?
Okay.
And then we'll go to a commercial break, and then we'll come back with the other stuff that we do, like Eric mentioned, the FP5, which is one that's currently in the works, right?
Right. Okay, so I'm just going to rattle off some of the titles that were punted into this non-constitutional penalty box by county council. So you have the initiative to ensure an adequate number of sheriff patrol officers.
Okay, so that's like to kind of have control of how many officers are.
Basically, what it was, the idea here was, we believe in small government, but we believe one of the core functions of government should be, public protection, public safety, and particularly
your stuff and your person.
And particularly in the unincorporated areas, as you kind of tracked the number of people serving in the number of officers serving in the unincorporated areas during the downturn,
right?
It went down.
Okay.
And basically the idea here was, okay, we want to make government smaller, but we want that basic function to stay there. So we're going to put a floor, like you can't go beneath this number of sheriff officers patrolling in the unincorporated areas.
Because left on their own, they are doing that. They're reducing the number patrolling in the unincorporated areas as they go and put more tax on the unincorporated areas, because there's a total number of votes in the unincorporated areas.
We kind of lost you. We lost you at the last
part. Did we lose some?
I think we may have. Another, we'll move on to another one. There was a cap on the total number of county employees. So, the number of county employees as compared to, well, I won't explain it because we got to get a break here. I'll just throw out a number. Initiative to limit San Bernardino County supervisor staff and cost. Initiative to set compensation limits, limit staff size, those types of things.
Okay. And so on, because there's a total of, what was it, 13? 14?
Yeah, I think we did 13 total.
13, okay. And then you guys got sued, right?
Right. Well, yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Let's explain that when we come back, because then that will take us into the development of FP5 here in the IE County, or San Bernardino County. Here, we'll come back with more youTurn Radio. Welcome back to youTurn Radio. Eric is joining us via telephone. Eric, are you there?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. You're back on. All right, and then Tom and I are live in studio. Right before the commercial break, we were going over what Red Brennan Group does, which is also underwrites youTurn Radio. And we're going over the 14 initiatives, which is something that you guys did back in...
I think we did. We were shooting to get it on the 2016 ballot.
And then, so you guys input, what was it, 13? And then you guys somewhat got sued, right? From my understanding?
Yeah, basically, if county council doesn't want to give you a ballot title and summary, you get a note in the mail saying you've been sued. And really what they're doing is...
It's not really a note. It's about an inch thick, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an actual lawsuit. A note is shorthand for, it's an actual lawsuit. And I guess a key thing is that the proponent of this initial initiative is a hardworking young man, and and he agreed that he would support it. So he was the proponent. And, he's doing his civic duty, trying to get engaged. And he gets a note, a stack in the mail saying, you've been sued. That's really intimidating.
Absolutely.
In fact, there were 3 people that signed as proponents. One was kind of a guy who's like, I want to fight. This was the second guy was kind of like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Right.
And then the third guy was like, I don't want anything to do with this, and he kind of withdrew his name. It's intimidating, right?
Of course.
To get essentially what the county does at that point is they go to the judge because they recognize they have a legal duty to provide. It's actually called a ministerial duty to provide a ballot title and summary. They know if they just decide, I'm not going to do it, they're breaking their California laws. So they go to the judge and say, hey, judge, we don't think we should have to do this because we think these are unconstitutional. And if the judge says yes, then your initiative never sees the light of day.
And that's it.
But the effect of going to the judge means your initiative never sees the light of day for what looks like 3 years now, still waiting for the judge to give a determination on that matter. They tie it all up in the court process so that if you're trying to get something on the 2016 ballot, you might not be able, even if the judge rules in your favor, you might not be able to get it on the 2020 ballot.
Well, and Eric, that's true if you have the ability and the resources to challenge, if you will, the county in court. I know of someone that submitted an initiative to the county. The county didn't like it, and that initiative never saw the light of day, and the organization had no ability, if you will, to pursue it in court. So one of the things the Red Brennan Group has done is we don't think that's right. So our underwriter is interested in that, and they have invested funds to hire an in-house attorney to challenge the county at this on this issue. So the only reason it's in court and has been for 3 years, like Eric says, is because the resources were there and invested to try to fight that. Now, you take somebody, a workaday person, making what's the median family income is almost about $58,000.
57-ish.
They're not,
nationwide, it's about $56,000.
There's no way.
That's the whole household income.
Right. There's no way that household is going to have the resources if they submit an initiative.
Right.
There's no way they're going to have the resources to fight the county for their constitutional right to put an initiative on the ballot.
Well, not just that, but as a young person, I think like the whole thing, just like you said, the whole process would be like, oh my God, so what do I do now? Like it's a scary process if you were to tell me like, and if you don't, like you said, like if I didn't have, like if I submitted something like this and then I don't have the money to get somebody to back me up on what I believe, I mean, it's tricky. I think like that almost makes the young generation say, well, why do I really want to get involved if things are not happening?
And when they sue you, they don't just get their employee, the attorneys that they already have working for them to do that. They go out and search and find the best and most expensive attorneys in the whole state, which aren't even from this county, and they throw them against you. And we have an attorney in house, but we don't have the best and most expensive attorney in house. We will, if they stay with us long enough, they'll develop enough expertise that they can lock horns with some of these high-priced attorneys, but that's their next level of, trying to make this completely ineffective, added to delaying it till it, might not even be relevant anymore. But Tom, let's talk about the other initiatives so we get them out of there. And on the police one, I'd like to point out that at the time they were actually cutting the number of service people in the unincorporated areas, they were increasing their police budget overall approximately. Am I completely out of bounds to say double?
I It's been a long time since I looked at
it. Might have been more than that, but it's a huge increases in their budget while they're cutting the number of actual people patrolling, at least in the unincorporated areas. And they weren't raising the number of people patrolling in the incorporated areas much. It was just an increasing inefficiency in how they spend their money. So, and to give you an idea of that, we were told by one of the supervisors that in order to put a police man or woman on the street, they have to invest $500,000 in training that person initially, which is absurd given that oftentimes after they've trained them higher, and there's nothing to stop that person from going to work somewhere else, and other cities and jurisdictions around the state know that, and they'll let San Bernardino County train up somebody and then they go hire them away. So they need to do something about that. It's hugely inefficient, and we can't dictate to them how they do that, but we can dictate to them that as the citizens that we want at least a minimum level of law enforcement in certain areas of the county that they're reducing that at, and they thought that is something that the citizens did not have the right to vote on.
To your point on the cost of training an officer, you would think that as part of the sign on the dotted line paperwork, it would be okay. Once you pass, we expect 4 or 5 years of service.
Some type of a contract.
Yeah.
You can do that by having them go to a training class, just like people go to college and they incur debt, and then say, look, as long as you're here for 5 years, we will pay off all your debt on it. But if you leave, you take that debt with you, and then the county's not taking in the shorts for that stuff as they currently are. It's not that complicated to figure out how to put in place effective policies to deal with it.
And you said that's $500,000 per officer, upcoming officer?
That's
a lot of money.
That is what we were told by one of the supervisors.
That's a lot of money. Let's share 2 more initiatives, and then where does this stand in general overall right now?
Let's see. Right now, we have 2 cases winding their way through the courts. One is at the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals, and then another remains in, if you will, the Superior Court. And essentially, the Red Brennan Group's lawsuits are there essentially to try to get either one of 2 things. One would be our position would be California Constitution is clear here.
Right.
That there should just be a ballot title and summary given within 15 days, and then we're off to gather our signatures. And if the people think it's a dumb idea, it'll never make it on the ballot. If they think it's a good idea, it'll make it on the ballot. Will everybody vote on it? Maybe, maybe not. Once it's voted on, if it's unconstitutional, or if there are parts of it that are unconstitutional, that can be challenged in court. And that has been the process, if you will, that the California Supreme Court has supported since 1911.
Yeah.
But our San Bernardino County, for some reason, views it differently.
Right. Which now I want to go into, before we run out of time, the FP5, which is the most current one that the Red Brennan Group is working with. And that just happened not too long ago, where they pretty much said it's going to be a fee. They call it a fee, right, of $157 a year?
No, it's a special tax.
Oh, a special tax.
They've called it different things at different times, but currently they're calling it a special tax.
Okay, so now it's being called a special tax, where people will have to pay this extra amount of money, and they're going to get the same coverage and for FP5, which is the fire department services, correct?
Yeah. Excuse me. What it is it's not everybody in the county. It's a special tax that's being imposed on a specific subset of people in the county, which are, if you live in an unincorporated area of the county,
right,
you're included in that. There's
and within the other, a great deal, if not the majority of the land in the unincorporated area is vacant land. And the County of San Bernardino Fire Department doesn't even have the requirement to serve or to fight a fire on vacant land. That is part of CAL FIRE or the state fire agency's responsibility. So they put a tax on something that they don't even have any connection with in terms of providing fire service. They just want some money from that thing for doing nothing.
Does that make sense?
Right.
So let's say you own a piece of property, on the road out to Sharona or something like that, and you don't have anything on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You just bought an investment property, or you just going
empty
out
lot.
sitting in the desert. Yeah. Empty lot. That now, in addition to the regular property tax amount that you'd pay, you're going to pay another on top of it, a special tax assessment. So that County Fire can cover this hole in their budget, and they don't because it's vacant land. There's no structures on it. That if your land is burning, it's not going to be County Fire that's going there. It's I think it's CAL FIRE, or it's another organization that's going to. So you're
and Tom, when you say they have a hole in their budget, they don't have a hole in their budget in the unincorporated areas. They have a problem in their budget in the incorporated areas. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
But they're putting the tax on the unincorporated area.
Yeah, since
so
2000.
They're putting the tax on the unincorporated areas where they don't even provide service, but in the incorporated areas where they do provide service, and in their administration budget, they've increased their costs substantially. And in order to cover that, they've gone to who's the easiest people that we can put this tax on, was the only way you can explain it.
That's so crazy. And we've covered FP5 and the whole process. You can go to youturnradio.com to listen to those shows, because from there, there was a whole, they sent out letters, and they also had a supervisor meeting that we attended, and a lot of people also showed up for that. And I just talked about how some of the letters they didn't get. Some couldn't. Some said if you want to vote for it, you have to go online, and that's an issue itself, because not everybody knows how to use the program or download the.
Well, no, they didn't give anyone the right to vote. They gave the people the right. If 25% of the people they sent these things to, which were like that junk mail that you get that most people throw away.
Right.
They send it to everybody. If 25% of the people who got that complained, then they would let people vote on it. They didn't send anybody the ability to vote on it. They just said if you write a protest, but in order to do the protest, you had to go online, download a form, you had to have specific software to do it. And people who didn't have a computer, who didn't have that software, couldn't do it. And when they sent everybody this thing in the mail, it was as easy as including a form or whatever they send them, put a little check the box thing and mail it back to us, and they could have done it. But they obviously didn't want anybody to vote because they didn't take that step. And that's part of what the Red Brennan Group is doing, is in challenging it, is saying, look, people aren't treated equally. Some people who had a computer with Adobe software could protest this, and some people who didn't couldn't.
And also, if they didn't mail it back, it was considered as if they agree with what they were going to do. That was another.
Well, if you think about it, the term for this is a protest vote. Mm-hmm. Okay, so in the protest vote, the way it works is everybody is assumed to vote yes,
right,
effectively, and it's only those people that protest that their vote begins to be counted. Does that make sense? So maybe a better way to say it is 100% of the people in the county, in the unincorporated areas of the county, voted yes for this. By virtue, well, more like 98% voted yes, mm-hmm, by virtue of the fact that they didn't turn in their little form saying no.
Right.
Only the 1 to 2% of unincorporated folks that understood what was going on, filled a form out and sent it in. Only those people, if you will, voted no against it. So it's it's a really, if you ask me, really bogus kind of way to do it.
Absolutely, and that's where
and that's why we sued
Right.
the county, because there's a clear overriding statute in the California Constitution that says if you're going to impose a special tax, you must get a 2/3 vote of the people that are affected.
The people that are going to be taxed.
Yeah, 2/3 votes of the people are going to tax, and that clearly did not happen in this scenario.
Right. And what's the current update? We also had the attorney, and he gave us an update on a previous show. You can find that on youturnradio.com. But what's the current update right now with FP5 and Red Brennan Group?
That case was verbally argued in front of the judge in the beginning of February, and the judge, recognizing that there was going to be an appeal, said I'm kind of leaning toward basically approving what the county's contract attorney was asking, and throwing this out. I'm leaning that way,
Right.
But I'm going to read the briefs and I'm going to provide a written opinion. Walking out of that, it was a little bit disappointing. But then, if you look at there's another somewhat associated case with San Antonio Heights, where the judge was initially leaning toward, if you will, San Antonio Heights being on the losing end. He actually came back and kind of reversed his initial leaning, and basically said, no, that was done illegally. So that the point is, we hope that when the judge sits down and reads the Red Brennan Group's brief and compares it to the county's brief, that he will see that at least in my mind, it's absolutely clear where the ruling should lie on this.
Right, absolutely.
And it should be, yes, this should, well.
And on the San Antonio Heights thing, Don, I mean, people clearly don't want this to happen. Now the judge has said what they're doing is illegal, but does that mean the county stops and says, okay, we're not going to tax you? They're instead trying to shoehorn them in on the FP5 thing now.
Oh,
and that's what will happen on the FP5 thing. If it stopped there, they're going to come and try something else. It's just they got endless resources to keep doing.
Yeah, exactly. And my read on the situation is that the county anticipated this, back when they were writing the ordinance for FP5, because there's a little paragraph in there where they say, oh, by the way, and this is my interpretation, oh, by the way, there's this legal action in San Antonio Heights, and however that turns out, San Antonio Heights is included in FP5. So, again, I don't know that I'm reading the legal leaves or decisions correctly, but it looked to me like the good folks in San Antonio Heights who invested their effort to fight this essentially have won a 2-year reprieve. Mm-hmm. So they'll get 2 years of back special taxes, which is probably equal to
they won the right to fight the county and all their high-priced attorneys again. That's what they got.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they just took a different approach at them to do the same thing.
Right.
And from what we learned last show, there's 3 supervisors that out of the 5, there's 3 supervisors that voted for FP5. So something that we also mentioned last show is, we intend to look for somebody that can run for supervisor and kind of have different a different way of thinking and more for the people rather than what we've learned.
It maybe looks like, instead of looking for ways to impress everybody, stop people from impose taxes and fees on everybody and stop them from voting, they look for ways to maybe save some money in the county's budget by better management and save enough money that they can actually invest in the county and create opportunities for everybody. Someone with a plus attitude is, and the 2 supervisors that voted against FP5 are realizing they have largely unincorporated districts. And they're going to get increasingly pushed into a minority where, the county in general is trying to stick their constituents for money. So I think if we get one more to join them, there's an opportunity to have some significant change and positive change in the county.
Absolutely. So that's why we wanted to review the plan, but also talk about, the different things that the Red Brennan Group does. So we kind of show that we're also doing something about it rather than just talking about it. It's about taking action.
Right. And so just as a review, we're submitting initiatives, we're hiring attorneys, we do this show, youTurn Radio. And we provide, from the show, we provide charitable organization support. I think last count, before the call today was $21,470. So that's another $1,200 up on that. So that's some of the things that the Red Brennan Group and youTurn Radio is busy in the county. Again, try to get this message of small government and big-hearted communities across.
Absolutely. And for more YouTurn, go to youturnradio.com. You can also contact us at info@youturnradio.com if you want to get a hold of us and reach out to us. If you didn't get a chance to call, don't want to call, but you can also reach us via email, info@youturnradio.com. That wraps it up for us. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Tom. Till next Thursday at 3 o'clock.
We want more rain.